Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to share a research journey. It's not just a research journey, but a personal journey, one that took roots in my own experience and deepened as I pursued questions that lie at the heart of social work's future. Yes, the heart of social work's future. I'd like to begin by telling you a bit about my own story. As a master's student in social work, I was introduced to the noble, complex principles of our field, the commitment to justice, the empowerment of the vulnerable, and the ethical responsibility to engage at both personal and societal levels. But during my studies, I discovered something that took me by surprise. Yeah, a huge surprise. Our curriculum, robust, was silent on the sustainable development goals, or SDG goals as they're fondly called. The United Nations describe them as our shared blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. So why is this not captured in the essence of our curriculum? This absence in our learning troubled me so much. It troubled me so deeply because the SDGs align with every core of social work's values, every core of our mission. Social work has always been about lifting communities, lifting people, reducing inequality, addressing things like systemic injustices, and even tackling environmental issues, all of which are at the heart of the SDGs. So I asked myself, why aren't we more deliberately integrating these goals into our curriculum? Why aren't social workers in training, the ones in school, like myself, like I was, why aren't we being equipped to meet global challenges head on? Why are we being trained to be only locally relevant and globally irrelevant? This was the moment that sparked my research question. How can we integrate the sustainable development goals into UK social work curricula? More than a research topic, this question became a personal mission. And during my second placement as a student, I met two undergrad social work students who shared their own frustrations with the field. They felt somewhat confined by the bureaucratic nature of statutory social work, and they were unable to create large-scale change, or they didn't even see it being possible, or truly be able to make an impact beyond their 9 to 5, beyond their local reach. So these young social workers longed to be part of a global movement. They longed to be part of something big. They wanted to be part of something, magnificent, but felt held back by the limitations of their education, which largely focused on local practice. Sad, right? Their experiences mirrored my own. I could feel their pain. It was a moment for me to say, like, okay, I'm not crazy. What I'm thinking, some other people are actually thinking about it. And it mirrored my experience with my practice educator who resisted the ideas of students taking on advocacy work or engagements. She told me, just focus on assessments. While that is important, assessments were not why I entered into social work. Assessment is not the reason why I chose to become a social worker. I believe we are here to shape societies, to uplift communities, and to advocate for justice on every level. Why are we reducing social workers to assessment doers? There's so much more to us. These experiences reinforced a growing belief that social work education in the UK, as it stands, is preparing us for a world of narrow practice rather than a world in desperate need global citizens. Let's ponder on that for a bit. So what was my research? The SDGs and the social work. There is an inherent synergy. We need to tap into that. The SDGs launched by the UN in 2015, they are ambitious, but they are also profoundly interconnected with the mission of social work. At least 7 of the SDGs directly relate to the work we do day to day in social work. Goals like no poverty, quality education, gender equality, and reduced inequality, well-being. But these goals are not just about lofty ideals. They are about actionable, measurable change. And that's where I see a transformative opportunity for social work education. By integrating SDGs into our curriculum, we would not only be able to broaden our focus, we would be able to strengthen our focus. Imagine a UK social work curriculum. Wait for it. Students learn to address poverty not only in local context, but as a global challenge. Everybody wants to be a part of something bigger. In this way, they are able to learn to reduce inequality by understanding economic systems that affect communities. This is a worldwide problem, and we cannot continue to be local in our thinking. Imagine social workers, imagine from our programs, who are not just locally competent but globally aware. That's what I'm talking about. Social work students shouldn't be feeling like they want to leave. They should feel like they have a lot to do. In my research, I found that countries around the world, from Australia to Canada, from the US to Chile, are already beginning to incorporate the SDGs into their social work curriculum. So what are we waiting for? They are using experiential learning methods, encouraging students to engage directly with SDG-driven projects and field placements. And this exposes them to global issues. For example, in New Zealand, students have worked on projects addressing environmental issues. And environmental sustainability is a big thing. They were able to link local and global actions to combat climate change. I mean, that's huge. Imagine the kind of graduates that you're churning out and they're in the room and they have something relevant to contribute beyond the local. And yet here in the UK, despite our rich tradition of social work, this global framework, this global thinking, this global dimension remains largely unexplored in our curricula. And I think this is one of the reasons why the narrative of social work in the media is still a lot to talk about. So why? The answer isn't a lack of alignment. Social work, after all, is rooted in justice, equality, and sustainability. Instead, the problem I see is that it's often the consequence of bureaucratic structures and curriculum constrained by standards that focus narrowly on local practice. We cannot continue to be narrow-minded. We cannot be like the ostrich that has his head buried in the sand and ignores what's going on. So let us embrace a glocal perspective, thinking globally and acting locally. In many ways, the SDGs invite us to adopt what scholars are calling a glocal approach. Social workers are increasingly confronted with global problems that have local impacts. Issues like migration, climate change, and economic inequalities. I discovered in my research that to be truly effective, social workers equipped to act locally while thinking globally. What does this mean? It means that we need to have an understanding of the broader systems at play, being aware of global frameworks like the SDGs and learning how to apply this. We need to understand these concepts in everyday practice. How does my dot of water make a ripple effect? In Canada, for example, students have been encouraged to engage in community-based projects with a global focus, developing what we might call global competence. That is, the ability to navigate and address complex issues that go beyond our national borders. These students, they come away with a broader, richer understanding of the social challenges we face, both at home and abroad, locally and internationally. So this is precisely what our students here in the UK need as well. They need it too. They need to be globally competitive as we face an increasingly multicultural society where global issues like climate change affect every local community. Social workers must be prepared to address these interconnected challenges with knowledge and skill. So I am calling on all the institutional support and policy alignment. We need to do better for the future that we hope. For this integration to work, we need the support of educational institutions to push for this, policymakers to push for this. My research highlights that in other countries, the successful alignment of social work curricula with the SDG principle is supported by national education policies, which emphasize the global citizenship and sustainability. In Australia, for example, the Australian Association of Social Workers has taken steps to integrate the SDGs into social work education, with institutions actively designing placement models that reflect SDG principles. It's been a game changer. In the UK, we could do the same. We could do something similar. Imagine if Social Work England or the British Association of Social Workers, yes, BASWA, imagine if they formally endorsed the SDGs and encouraged universities to design curriculum in line with this. There are already models in our curriculum that could easily integrate these goals. Imagine if our own Department of Education partnered with these bodies, to fund specialized placements where students could work directly on a project in local communities, experiencing firsthand how global frameworks can bring about local change. It is doable. It's something that we can do. It's something that needs to be done for the kind of future that we desire. In order for us to move forward, I therefore propose several specific steps. Not too many, but we can do it. Number one, curriculum enrichment. That needs to happen. That needs to happen as soon as possible. Integration of SDGs across multiple courses, including stand-alone models on global social issues. These models would use case studies, role-playing, and practical projects that connect SDG goals to real-world challenges. And these challenges are faced by communities across the UK. We are solving local problems with a global perspective. We need to make this as experiential as possible. That's number two, SDG-focused placements that allow students to work on projects with explicit links to these goals in such a way that poverty is tackled, poverty reduction is tackled, gender equality is tackled, environmental issues are tackled, environmental sustainability is tackled. And number three, professional development and advocacy. All these are doable, and it's going to be a game changer in mindship, because for social workers who are already practicing, we should prioritize ongoing professional development in global competency, sustainability, and environmental justice. Social workers can powerful advocates, not only in local settings, but on a larger scale, pushing for policies aligned with SDG objectives. And I'm going to stop here. There are many more things that we can discuss on how we can integrate my research into what propels the curriculum of social work forward. Thank you for listening, and until next time, Mabimbola Victoria Olide.